want to start by offering a prayer to my spiritual master and ask for his blessings in our activities. And so it's a Sanskrit prayer. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pacharni Navishesha Paripasiti Saturni Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we had some nice discussion this past week on the Gift Economy Telegram channel. Got this number of you jumped in there and we're texting back and forth, and it sounds, although it sounds like you're maybe connecting for the first time, and I'm very happy that you can get together in that way. That's the whole idea. Regarding the getting together, there was only 14 that sent their to get included on that database. I sent the link with the reminder yesterday, so if you didn't notice that, have a look back at that. You can download that. And only a few people put their phone number, so that wasn't included. You have email addresses, and I don't know. It's perhaps you want to make your own Telegram group so that you can, for easier communication. I don't know what you use, but sending email back and forth is, I think it's archaic by now. So it's the old technology. Anyway, however you want to do that, I'll leave that up to you. And there was a number of things that I sent you for, asked you to do for the homework. And again, there's unlimited amount of stuff to see here, but there was one thing that after I posted that letter, then I went back to look at Charles Eisenstein's book, because I gave you the download link for that. And I remember I first purchased his book back in, I don't know, maybe 2011 or 10, 12, something like that. And immediately I got put off, and I was reminded of that when I opened up the PDF that I sent you. And the first thing that he writes there is, the purpose of this book is to make money and human economy as sacred as everything else in the universe. Now that was kind of a deal killer for me, because in my mind, money can't be made sacred. There's a lot of problems with it. But other people talk about him in very nice ways. He does make a lot of reference to indigenous cultures and their gift economies. And it was Krishna Kumari, who attends the course. She sent me something, she passed along something somebody had sent her. And I'll just read you this little quote, which is why I included Charles Eisenstein. It says, today's podcast, I forget who the fellow is who did this podcast. Today's podcast with Charles Eisenstein changed the course of my personal history. So he is a very influential fellow. The author of the book, Sacred Economics, we were talking about what economic systems may look like in a more beautiful world. In summation, instead of a currency-mediated relationship and false digital scarcity creating windfall profits, there's a much different system, a voluntary donation model based on the universal principle of reciprocity, what the Quechua ayahuasca culture calls Aini. So that's what I had heard about Charles in his writing, that he does speak a lot about that, which is why I included him. I've got little mixed feelings about him, but I understand that many people do appreciate what he has to say, and so I'll let you make your own decisions on that. Okay, then On our Gift Economy Telegram group, there was some comments there in response to my request that, what do you all think about what are the problems and challenges that we face going forward? Linda wrote, the problem that I see in going back to a fully gift-based economy is that we can't bargain or gift our way out of paying our mortgage, electricity, land taxes, and water. So this would necessitate relocating and setting up alternative housing and energy systems. I don't feel like time is on our side to be able to do this. And Jeffrey Jonica wrote, I'm reminded of the mark of the beast in Revelation where you can't buy or sell. I'm sorry for the people who have mortgages and rent to pay. With luck, they can join similar communities to the one that I'm part of. Just don't expect a utopia. Communities fail, often sooner rather than later. And I think that if there's a strong religious, spiritual element underpinning it, then there's a greater chance that it will work. So those are very realistic comments and concerns, questions. And so the question is, okay, well, how are we going to get there from here? And I don't know that we can just jump immediately into a full-blown gift economy, but rather I think it may evolve individually as we expand our influence in introducing others to such a way of life by giving a gift ourselves. And so there's, but there's the other possibility. We all get forced into that in a very immediate sense when they introduce a central bank digital currency, cryptocurrency actually, in which we won't have any access to any money or the financial system unless we do what we're told. And
sorry, Dan, can I just mention that is not cryptocurrency? Central bank digital currency is central bank digital currency. It's central, whereas the cryptocurrency is by its very nature decentralized, and there's nothing to do with centralized control. It's peer to peer. So you're confusing two terms.
Okay, let me clarify that then. We already have digital currency. Most of the currency in circulation.
Can I make one more comment that Charles Eisenstein changed his approach because of the tyrannical attitude of the government. So that's why he's changed his approach. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that.
The recent interview on Voices for Freedom where he explains all that.
Okay, thank you. I thought some of you might be more familiar with him. The distinction I'm trying to make by saying crypto is that we already have digital currency. Most of the currency in circulation, probably more than 95%, is already digital. That means it's bank ledger numbers, which is digital. And what they intend to introduce is something like Bitcoin, but controlled through a central bank. That means, what do they call it? A blockchain system. No? You're shaking your head. Do I have that wrong? Yeah?
Yeah, yes, with central bank digital currency, that can be blockchain, but Bitcoin is purely peer-to-peer. It's got nothing to do with centralized control.
Yeah, okay, I understand that. And I'm not saying they're going to use Bitcoin at all. All I'm saying is, because there's by now several hundred cryptocurrencies, They're run in different ways. And the central banks, the whole point is they want to be able to control every penny that everybody uses. And they can cut you off. Just like now you have digital currency, right? You go to the bank, you get your ATM card out, or you use it in the shop, and you use it just like cash. That's a digital currency. But what they're planning is a very controlled mechanism by which they can turn off your account, or say they want to keep you within 5 miles of your home like they're doing in Australia. Then if you go outside of that area, your bank card simply won't work. Like that. Anyway, that's the idea. The idea is more control. And how exactly they're going to come to that, we'll see. But that's part of what they want to do is the Great Reset. And, let's say, how are we going to get there from here? Many people suspect that the economy is going to crash in a very big way soon or later, who knows. And then as a solution, it's the problem reaction solution situation. So we have a problem, our whole economy has crashed. Well, let's introduce another system called the CBDCs that everybody will either get a bank card or you'll get a chip, and you'll be given your universal basic income, your UBI, and then if you do anything wrong, if the cameras see you jaywalking or doing, throwing trash on the street, you'll lose social credits and your income will be reduced. Things like this. We read about this going on in China already. Anyway, the point that I'm making is that when this system comes, there's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to go along with that, and I would suspect most of you. Then, and also me. Okay, so what are we going to do? And at that point, we may be thrown together to help each other get through the crisis, or not even get through the crisis, but find a workaround, another way to live. Personally, what I'm doing here in this area, in America, we have political units called counties, which are subdivisions of the state. So I'm creating a Facebook group by the name Pure Bloods of Alachua County, with the purpose of gathering together people who have not taken the jab and are likely, for that reason, to be very aware of the greater agenda, the bigger picture of what's going on, and bring them together for the purpose of, let's discuss now how we're going to deal with what's coming, because we can see what's coming. And I can see what's coming, and and I can speak to that in detail if somebody doesn't, but that's my point. I want to, as they say, find your tribe. I want to find my tribe of like-minded people who appreciate the need for living independently of the system, and however, or let's say whatever may be required to do that. So either way, either we can individually begin our gift program to give to others and inspire them, and perhaps develop a group in that way. Or following, you could develop a local, let's say, not quite a local currency. There's many local currencies. Let me just explain that expression briefly. Very simply, that you can't create a federal dollar in your country or mine without being put in prison, but you can create your own local trading currency, and many towns have done that all over the world. There's very long-standing use of that in one town called Ithaca, New York. They have the Ithaca Hour. And there's a lot of benefits to a local currency that keeps all of the trade in the local town rather than immediately leaving as soon as you buy a product that comes from elsewhere. But I was thinking you could create a gift local currency. In other words, because I was talking with Vanessa the other day about creating the Pay It Forward card on the Pay It Forward website. They have some example of a card, and we were discussing that. And then after our discussion finished, I thought, well, yeah, you know, maybe you could use something like this as a local currency. Anyway, there's unlimited ideas, you know, that one can come up with. Necessities and other of invention. So, you know, how to get people together to cooperate in a way that they can both have their needs met and as much as possible feel secure in that system. And the security is the big question about, you know, how do we feel secure? And this is one of the primal needs of everybody. If you know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the first thing is security, protection for the body, then food, then emotional needs need to be met, and so on. And as you go up the scale, more and more subtle needs to be dealt with, recognition or role in society. And then at the top is what Maslow called self-actualization. You know, the point is that, you know, what do we need? First of all, we need security. We need protection for the body, and we need food. Those are the basic primary requirements that have to be met by all of us. And it's really a question of how we will do that. Now, fortunately, in any part of the world, you can build a house from local materials. What we call here in the States, Eskimos, the people who live in the Arctic Circle, they build igloos, right? They build houses out of ice, of all things, and which are warmer and comfortable than the outside temperatures. One time I was in Kiev, they have a cultural museum where they brought houses from different parts of Ukraine to this museum just as a display of how people would live. And there's many of those houses were made out of cob, clay and straw. And I was touring that in probably late October when it was fairly cool outside. And going inside one of these cob houses, it was quite comfortable inside. You know, it's just clay and straw, it's just, you know, local, what you just dig up the ground and refashion it into a house. Then there was another house that was basically a stick house, you know, a modern house with 2x4s and wallboard and so on. And you go inside that house, it was freezing cold. There was no thermal resilience to such a house. Anyway, the point is, find a way to protect the body and to produce food. So those challenges we have to think about, and I'd like to suggest that the sooner that we think about that, how we're going to do that, the better off we'll be. I liked Krishna Kumari's suggestion the other week where she said she went out and begged for land to grow food. That's a wonderful idea. If you don't have any land, beg some land to put in a garden and ideally grow food for many people. But you can also beg some land for putting up your house. The question is, how long you can get away with that? How closely are the authorities looking to see what you're doing? Now, here in the States, or the area where I live, the zoning requires a minimum of 5 acres per single family home. But several of the people in the area, they put up, they go to the local lumber yard and they can buy like a 12 by 20 shed. It's not considered a house, it's just a box. And they stick that up and they've got people renting those. So there's all different kinds of ways. One other guy, which was kind of curious, I thought interesting, a little funny. One guy was suggesting that when you see that really the sky's going to fall, that you can go down. We have the truck rental places here where you can rent a box truck, maybe a 16 or 20 foot truck. Just rent one of those and drive it away into the bush somewhere and just live out of that. I'm not suggesting that, but again, necessity is some other invention. Some desperate people do desperate things. So again, better to start thinking about it now. And the other thing that I really wanted to focus on is in terms of getting really to a full-blown gift economy is the culture that we need in order to do that. Again, because we are conditioned souls, we're very thoroughly indoctrinated by modern society and the ways of modern society. To make this switch is often very difficult. In fact, many times people ridicule me for suggesting this idea of a gift economy. And that's okay. I have the strength of my own conviction to bear that, and it's not surprising that people will do that because most people simply don't think about these things very deeply and how the world works, or let's say how particularly a spiritual culture should work. Again, my conviction is that we are in the Yuga Yoga, or the conjunction of the ages, where we are leaving this materialistic, atheistic civilization. It will be going down, and we are in the process of transitioning to a spiritual culture. And what's that culture going to look like? How is it going to be different from now? I submit that you can't have the present economics and have a spiritual culture. They are incompatible in many ways. Money actually destroys that type of a civilization because if I have money, I don't need you. And if you have money, you don't need me, right? And so that's how the world works now. We have no connection with the people perhaps that live next door to us because they're going to get their money from one place, their needs met from the grocery store and so on. And we do the same thing, and there's nothing really that connects us. But if the situation changes and there are no stores, there is no money, there's nothing in the store, then everybody's situation changes dramatically. And the best, let's say the easiest way to survive is to band together with others. Now, that also has some challenges, personal challenges in terms of how we're able to respond to such a situation. There's many people, as you all well know, in the present culture who have an exploitative consciousness. they are looking to take advantage of the system and people wherever they can. In fact, some of these people are called psychopaths who think that they're fools not to exploit other people. Fortunately, they're only a small percentage of the population, but they're there. And there are other people who, perhaps those ones who mock the idea of a gift economy, who want to profit from the world. The false ego of the living being is comprised of two aspects called I and mine. I am the body, and I am also what I possess. If I possess more, then I am more. I think of myself in a different way. And perhaps some of you have experienced that. And so consequently, if we're going to switch to a different economy, there has to be some internal personal transformation that takes place in which I feel comfortable giving. Perhaps it's a very foreign thing to do, or more than that, depending on others for my security, which is very difficult. We do that in our families, right? And we have a family unit, husband, wife, and perhaps extended relatives, where because we have a blood bond, we take care of each other. In India, this is extended. It goes out to cousins and second cousins and so on like that. But it's less prominent in America and perhaps also in your country as well. So how am I going to get through that transformation? It's going to be challenging for a lot of people. And so, especially to get to a full-blown gift economy where I just think about giving and I don't have to think about what I am getting. A lot of growing, a lot of personal growth needs to go on for that. And I suspect that, let's put it this way. These relationships become immediately close. And in terms of relationships, we can either, let's say, we can be close with someone or we can have freedom. As we become more close with somebody, we must give up our freedom. If we're not willing to give up our freedom, we cannot become close. Okay, for example, let's take boy and girl. They meet each other and they're not committed to each other, and they may see each other periodically and date other people also. But then one or the other or both of them decide that they want to get married and consolidate that relationship and make a commitment to each other. But then at that point, they must give up their freedom. Otherwise, the relationship cannot become close. I can't give my heart to somebody if I suspect that I'm not secure with them. But, strange. This is a situation of modern society. My son lived in Paris for some time, and he told me that the culture there was not unusual for a married couple, that the man would have his girlfriend and the woman would have her boyfriend. And they would live like that, and it was just an accepted thing. Okay, well, that may go on, or, you even see things like open marriages. In the early 19th century in America, there was a lot of intentional communities that developed then, and one of them, I think it was the Owens, they had open marriages, and everybody could go have it with everybody else. Well, okay, you can have that, but you don't really get much emotional security in those kinds of relationships. So the same thing in a gift economy. I want security. I want to be able to depend on others. But we all can't have our freedom and then let's say function in that type of economy either. There must be commitment that we are going to take care of each other. And so I suggest that in the initial stages, and maybe even throughout, that you can't do this with an open group. In other words, you have to have a closed group in which you all make a commitment to each other. And you help each other, assist each other to grow personally in whatever way is needed to be able to develop into such a giving person. It will perhaps won't work with some people. They won't be able to get there, and they will be takers instead of givers. Maybe you read or heard about this very cute book that came out, oh boy, maybe 30 years ago, called Ishmael by the author Daniel Quinn. And it was a fictional story, a very cute little fictional story about a self-realized gorilla. And so one fella, he gets he sees an ad in the newspaper one day about, training for, spiritual training or something like that. I forget the nature of the ad. And he was intrigued by that. And so he goes to the address. He goes inside, and it's like a warehouse. And what's he seeing there is there's a gorilla in a cage. And he's trying to make sense out of, what's going on here. And the gorilla starts to speak to him with mental telepathy. Okay. And so the gorilla's explaining to him that, if we want to make real spiritual progress, we have to become givers. And the gorilla was explaining that in the natural world, everybody's giver, but it's only the human beings that become takers. And so the whole theme of the book is developed around this idea: are you a giver or are you a taker? So a lot of sense. Quinn developed a very large following of people who were asking him, okay, we're with you, Quinn, tell us what to do. But unfortunately, Quinn didn't have an answer for that, for them. He said, well, your address book is your tribe, but I don't know if that's going to work unless everybody's in agreement with this is what we're going to do. So challenges like that, they are going to come up, and we will, our modern society doesn't challenge us like this. The rules are pretty simple. You go out and you get money and you get what you want. And if you're going to develop some nice qualities, perhaps, you're encouraged to do that by your church. But there's nothing in the dominant culture that really, at least here in America, where much is expected of you. From your job, perhaps they expect you to do your work, or from your family or your relationships, there's some expectation of you, but not in the broader sense. But in a closed group with a gift economy, there's going to be expectations. And I think it's great personally, because look, if I'm depending on you, I want you to be the best person that you can be. If you're depending on me, you want the same thing of me. You don't want me to be independable, lazy, irresponsible, right? And I want the same thing of you. So naturally, we endeavor to lift each other up, to become better persons, to become the best version of ourselves. And this is, for many people, and it's no secret, you're all mature adults. We find challenges in our lives in this way for our personal shortcomings at times that we have to grow out of or grow into or eradicate, whatever. So, and we all know that it's not always easy, it's not challenging, but if we have the help of our friends to help us, like in a marriage, right, husband and wife, they help each other to see what their faults are so that they can work on them, right? And sometimes it's accepted, sometimes not. So we know how that goes too. So anyway, the point is that there's, I'm trying to point out that there's going to be not only physical challenges in terms of how do we maintain ourselves, but there's going to be also some very significant personal challenges in terms of my own character. Am I, can I be this person who's always thinking about what am I going to give to others? And what we have to go through with the change of mindset that we have to go through to do that. And so, that's why I gave a couple examples of, for example, the Peace Pilgrim. That one beautiful lady, she decided that she was just going to live her life by giving. And she's wonderful books where she's just explaining, it's impossible to give without receiving. If you just focus on giving, you have to receive. And that's even in a money economy. She's doing that. And there was another woman, Heidi Marie Schwemmer, that she was in Europe when I was there. And she just decided, another elderly lady in her 60s, she just decided that she was going to stop using money. And I gave you some examples. Mark Boyle, I think it was another one. The Moneyless Man, he was called. And he did a number of like TED Talks and interviews and things like that about why he did that and what the result was of that. So my personal opinion is there's many, many personal benefits to doing this. And if we can create a group or a community or even an entire culture that's functioning like this, then what a wonderful world it would be. That wonderful world that Charles Eisenstein was talking about, how do we bring that about? And frankly speaking, nobody else is going to do it. It's all of us. You've stayed here now 6 sessions out of 100 people that we had registered, so we've got about 20 that remained through the whole thing. And so you were the committed ones. You were showing the interest in the topic and understanding the all the nuances of it. So it's going to be up to you. What are you going to do? Okay, my throat's getting dry, so I'm going to stop there and see if there's any discussion. Yeah.
Is it me? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. I just wanted to share that since we left teaching, we were teaching at a local school, 3 teachers. We've started a gift school, I suppose you could call it. We're teaching for free. And we have 12 children. There's 3 teachers, 12 children. And the parents cook for us on the days that we teach. We just teach 3 days a week. And yeah, so it's really nice. So we wanted to do that. I mean, I know that Srila Prabhupada said teachers shouldn't be paid. So it's sort of a Brahminical type activity. Yeah. So we've already started. I wanted to share that with you.
Thank you. I think that's so wonderful. And you know, back in my day when I went to university in the 60s, there was a radical time, and there's a number of what they called free universities that popped up, where there would be no tuition and the professors would teach and so on like that. And I can't help but thinking now that university has become so expensive, it puts these young adults into debt slavery for their entire lives before they even graduate.
Yeah.
And why aren't there some radical professors who start a free university like there used to be? Anyway, thank you for that. That's a wonderful gift and a wonderful example. How many students do you have?
We've got 12 so far.
Wow.
We don't want to get too many more, although we could easily, because then the government decides that you're a school and then they start imposing all sorts of strictures and things on you.
Yeah.
So we don't really want that. Yeah.
Right, right. And what ages? Do you have all ages?
We pretty much got one of each age up to 14. Yeah, but you know, we'd like to, as you say, free university, we'd like to sort of keep going.
Yeah.
Tertiary as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, I think
Great.
it's inspired by you, to be honest.
Definitely.
You know, that's where we got the idea from, that we're going to do it as a gift economy. That's how it's going to be. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll consider that paying it forward.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I ask where you're located?
In Auckland at the moment.
Okay.
We're located here, but we're working with Buddy to get land up near Whangarei, if that's where you are. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Anna, good to know. Thank you.
Mhm. Okay. Anybody else? What do you think about this personal challenge? Personal growth? Any comments about that? Am I scaring you? With that kind of talk?
And I could say something else about that. I don't know if you probably know, Dineshra, that Prabhu, that Buddy's working on getting land, and we're working with him. And in a couple of months, well, in a few weeks, we're going to do a course called. It's a group of people. They have a big house project, and they're trying to get people to live together and work together. So they do a collaboration course, which is sort of teaching people how to work together, basically, you know, like teaching people communication skills, you know, like iMessages, win-win, all those sort of things. So, you know, if anybody is interested and local, that will be in Whangarei as well in July.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful ideas.
Yeah. Because we realize that we need that as a foundation. We need to work on the community and the culture. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And in fact, Buddy, I'd be very interested to see the curriculum for that course, because I think it's a great idea for bringing people together to begin thinking about it, rather than just asking people to jump in together and buy a piece of land and live together.
Their project, their idea for community is to find a big building or a big house or a hotel or something, and then you know, convert it into a place where everybody can live together communally. But they're very much into the idea of personal growth, personal development, and so they run these. Before anyone can be involved in that project, they need to do this collaboration course where they learn how to actually work together with people. So we're going to be doing that course with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea for any community. You know, because we try to do it like we do modern society, right? What's community? It's a bunch of people that live together in the same place. But you know, there's nothing really there about, you know, commitment or personal relationships and so on. And we need to learn that. So I think that's a great idea. Wonderful.
We've,
Yeah, okay.
we've been trying to introduce the concepts of gift economy with our children, because children are generally very much I and mine focused. This is mine, and I want this, and I need this, and I want it now, and I need it now. So we got them to watch that Pay It Forward video, and we've encouraged.
My husband teaches 4 boys tech drawing, metalwork and woodwork. We've got a large garage and a very large carport, and they're doing all sorts of things there. And there's no charge for that. He just does it. He's an ex-teacher, and now he's retired. We're enjoying doing that sort of thing. And also I've had some of the children, and I've been teaching them cooking and sewing. Yes, their mother could do that, but quite often children learn better from grandparents or aunties, someone else like that. There's no arguments. They treat me like the teacher, and it works very well. Can I just make a comment about the currency, because you were trying to explain about this currency coming in. Recently, New Zealand has had its cheques withdrawn, probably 6 months or a year ago. We can no longer write cheques.
Oh, you mean the paper kind?
Yeah,
the
paper cheques totally withdrawn. It's caused a lot of hardship, particularly for elderly people who don't have computers, don't do online banking, and sometimes that's the only way that you can make certain payments, because you can't pay big amounts with cash. Like you can't pay your electricity by cash. It has to be done online, and so that's made it difficult for those people. And I think in the same way, other things are going to be withdrawn, so that unless we're in the system, we won't be able to pay those big things.
Exactly. Yeah, it's boiling the frog, right? One little step at a time. You get used to it, you become accustomed, then they ratchet it up some more. So anyway, we understand that it's coming. There's no question that it's not coming. And understand, do what we need.
There's also a group that we belong to of like-minded people. We don't all live together, but we're all part of the group. And they have set up an organisation called Titoki Traders. It's about 10 miles from here, and it's out in the country. It's an old school building that's been renovated and used as a community hall. And once a month we have a market where we can take our produce, take our crafts. We can pay cash, we can exchange, we can barter, or we can gift it, or we can exchange for time. And that's already been up and running for a couple of months now. And as the summer comes, because it's winter here, as the summer comes, we may hold it more often. What else was I going to say? Yeah, that'll do for now.
I'd like to say something.
David wants to say something. Is that okay?
Sure.
I am aware of some groups of people and cultures where other family members will go into other family members' home, clean out the fridge, clean out the pantry, have a happy time together, and then move out. And it proves to be very difficult for the family. So I think there needs to be guidance and balance and instruction with regards that situation. Some people borrow and don't return, damage and don't fix or replace. So there's got to be balance and harmony and consideration. Another question I have with this community living and everything with this new crypto and everything that I don't understand, I wonder, how long is this lot going to last? And what sort of light do you see at the end of the tunnel? Do you anticipate it 3.5 years or 6 or 7 years, or will this go on into the future?
Well, you know, as I think it was Yogi Berra, at least he's credited, one famous American baseball player was saying, making predictions is very difficult,
Yes.
especially about the future. So, you know, what's coming, you know, of course, it can only be speculation. And again, as I was saying at the beginning, based on what the astrologers are telling us, and some of these astrologers, you know, the stars are actually, that science is developed so that we can get a glimpse of what's going on. Although they're going to endeavor to create this one world of total totalitarian control, it's not going to work.
No.
Somehow or other, it's going to fail. And what I expect is that because people who of this mindset, they can't get along, they're going to wind up fighting themselves and destroying each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I expect. Now, dissolution or destruction is not a pretty picture. Huh? Perhaps you see the pictures from Ukraine, what's going on now, you know, any war zone for that matter. Yeah, I see two ways to go forward in this, and there's the easy way and the hard way. And the hard way is going to be trying to hang on to this present lifestyle, thinking that we can, right, go back to the old normal or continue that old normal and resist all these changes that are coming. My expectation is those changes will be forced on us. And the easy way is to understand where this is going, what the goal is, and to voluntarily go in that direction. And basically that means a non-technical, simple living where you're providing for your own necessities locally with either group or several villages, where somebody is producing clothing, somebody is producing food, somebody is making, you know, woodwork or whatever, like that. So by voluntarily going in that direction, it will be a much more pleasant path, and the destruction, it won't really be of any significance to us. Anyway, that's my picture. That's what I think. You know, do I have it right? I've got no idea. You know, got no idea. You know, Klaus Schwab and his Great Reset gang, they've got their ideas of what it's going to be. And, you know, there's Christian groups also. They see that we're also going into what they call the 1,000-year reign of Christ, a similar idea to spiritual culture. And I don't know of any at this point who are consciously or endeavoring to bring that about. Many Christians see this as the end times, in which we've got 7 years of tribulation coming up, and it's the battle between the forces of good and the forces of evil. The latter part I certainly agree with. The demonic elements who control the world, they're no longer hiding themselves, especially in this country. You know, the moral degradation is abysmal. So I think for each of us, though, our future is what we will make it be, right? We do have free will, and that spirit creates reality. So if we put it into our consciousness, both individually and collectively, the future that we want to have. In other words, a shared dream of the future, and then work to make that become a reality, I think we can do it.
I'm concerned that movies and the news spread evil and corruption around the world in hours. They say something, there was a standard in the past, then they lower it to a grey area, then that becomes the normal, then they lower it again and lower it again and lower it again. And is it going to get much worse? I tend to look on this new system as, like the Tower of Babel, men had their ideas, God overruled in it. They've had the European Common Market. They've tried to dictate with bureaucracy over all sorts of unnecessary things and afflict people to have to be inefficient in their productivity. I anticipate that this carry on will go for a while, but the thing is, it's not just one country. They're trying to make it internationally over everybody. And it's going to be quite an interesting international calamity with all of this. And so I think the Lord's going to bring judgment upon it in time, and it will collapse. So it's going to be interesting what he brings in at the end of this, when men think that they are in control instead of he is supreme and in control. And I think many people are going to turn their hearts and lives to him unless they continue in this way.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I'm of the opinion that we also have to act, not that just sit back and God's going to do everything. He's going to bring judgment. The bad guys are going to go away. You know, that's a beautiful thought, but you know, we also have to do our part. Prayer works. Prayer works, and we should pray. And the other thing, from my spiritual tradition, of course, is that we need more God in this world.
Yep.
And to fight the forces of evil. And in this age, God manifests in the form of his holy name. Of course, we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, you probably know. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And by making this sound vibration, God is personally present, and that sound vibration purifies the entire world. So my spiritual master said, if we could get 1 or 2% of people to take up this chanting of this Hare Krishna mantra on a daily basis, it would be enough to change the entire world. And it doesn't have to be Krishna or Rama. Any bona fide name of God will do. The Muslims have, I think, 100 names of Allah. In other words, any name that refers to the supreme being, this is a bona fide name of God. So we have our part to do. It's not going to happen by itself. And if we don't do anything, we're going to get what we deserve, I think. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thanks. Okay, Anujma and Billy.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, this is Sunray. Sorry we were late. And the last, anyway. You're discussing a little bit about what's going to happen. And one thing is that the demons is part of their religion. I'm trying to get in the camera here. To tell us ahead of time what they're going to do. And they've done that very thoroughly. For instance, in the COVID thing, they actually had some kind of workshop or something where they played doing the COVID thing to try to figure out what would happen. And I've had an alternative understanding about health because about 4 or 5 years ago, I discovered a tumor in my breast. And I decided not to go with the regular medical doctors. And amazingly, I discovered that health is nothing. It's like everything we know that the demons have taught us is completely wrong. And if it's coming from the medical industry, it's about keeping us sick enough that we buy their products and keep us dependent on them. So this breast tumor I have is about, well, it was about the size of my fist. And once I gave up the mental cause of the tumor, which was separation from my child, because when you're right-handed, you hold your baby on your left hip. And that's like the place in your subtle bodies. In Krishna consciousness, we understand we have a body that we can see, and we also have a body made of mind, intelligence, and ego. So what was happening was my subtle body was signaling so much stress that it had to manifest itself in my gross body. So it took me a while to be able to give up that worry for my child, because she still is in a horrible situation. And that's the hardest thing that a mother can do, is to stop worrying about their kid when they're in trouble. But I was able to do that. And at the point when that happened, my body switched from growing the tumor to producing tuberculosis bacteria, which has a really odd smell. So it's really happening, to eat up the tumor. And now I'm at about, I'd say, half of the tumors. And that's why I wasn't here the last couple of weeks, was because I was in the height of the changeover to, there's another changeover in the healing process, but so it was the most heavy part of it. But anyway, I just wanted to say that in terms of health, they have set the stage for an inevitable smallpox epidemic. It's absolutely inevitable. And they had the monkeypox. Monkeypox and smallpox have identical symptoms. They are the same disease. The disease is not what the media has told us. So one thing that we can do with the gift economy, bringing it back to the subject of the thing, is if we understand, we can help people without being afraid, because we will not catch smallpox if we were not afraid of catching COVID. If we didn't wear the masks and we didn't go around in our subtle body thinking, oh, I'm afraid of people, I got to stay away, I got to stand the 6 feet. If we didn't do that, we will not be getting smallpox. So one of the good things that we can do is go and help our neighbors, because we don't have to be afraid of getting it. So I hope that knowledge, I know it's hard for people, it's a big thing, and it's taken me a couple of years of this healing to really wrap my head around the fact that the body, the physical body that we have, is not something with a bunch of mistakes and genetic things that are wrong, and that allergies are not what we've been told they are. They're actually a result of trauma, and it's like our subtle body is bringing something to our attention with the symptoms. So this is a huge subject to get into, but I would suggest anyone listening to it get into. I'll provide some information about how to find more about this health issue, but that's going to be the big thing that's going to be happening probably very soon, because with the COVID, from the time that they announced that, oh, maybe it might be airborne, to the time that they had the heavy lockdowns, do you know how long that was?
2 weeks.
3 weeks. 3 weeks. So, and they just announced a couple days ago, they just announced that, oh, maybe monkeypox might be airborne. It's not airborne. It's already, the potentiality is already in the people from the 2 years of lockdown. It's a siege. People were under siege for 2 years. And now when they release that trauma, they'll start to get the symptoms. And I understand I could get more into it, but this isn't the time and place for it. But anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, if you have some link, you said you have something, you can put it in the chat box for everybody.
Oh, good idea. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Oh. All right, wait, Billy has something too, or did I? Are we still
Okay,
there?
Billy?
Okay.
Thank you. Most people always have the question, what do we do? Get out of the cities. Find a place where you can grow a garden. Get to know your neighbors. Turn off the boob tube and chant Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. Jono, talk to us. What do you got?
Hare Krishna, Dan. I thought I'd better get out of bed this morning because it's the final week, so and open my voice, open my mouth up and say something.
Nice to see you.
I just thought I'd share with the group. We live down in Raglan in New Zealand, and Probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we started up again our plant-based vegan food in town. We rent a small little, I've taken the lease out on a small little tiny shop. It's 2.8 square meters, so very, very small. My partner cooks the dal or the curry or whatever we're serving that night. And yeah, we do it by koha or by a donation. And we have some Krishna music playing in the background, and we have people that, some people have no money, some people have $2, some people pay $20, you know, and pay it forward to the next person that maybe can't afford a meal. And we did it a year ago, and it's very successful. It's fantastic. Obviously, it earns us a little bit of income, and it pays for the food for the next week. Some of the food's been donated as well. So I can really see the gift economy. I know there is money involved in it, but I can just see, I guess, the generosity of others in that regard happening. And a few other, you know, we're dropping off food complimentary to people around us that can't make it down or that are struggling. Yeah. And yeah, it's just very, very heartwarming more than anything for me, I think, you know, just serving prasad to people that, I don't know, would normally have a steak for dinner or something, you know, but they're happy to eat a dal and rice or dal and bread. Yeah.
Nothing better than khichdi.
Yeah, tell me about it. But I guess the other part of it is the money part of it, Dan, that, you know, I can't get away from. How do we move away from that money side of things? Maybe not in that analogy, but...
Well, you know, it can be gradual or it can be immediate. You know, like you're doing it now, okay, you're planting seeds. You're not just giving food, but you're planting seeds. And I think if Vanessa can get these pay it forward cards together, I think that's a wonderful idea. You know, because you got to put the idea in people's heads. You know, well, think about what you can do for somebody else. And that card is particularly designed that, okay, you get it, somebody did something for you, you gave you the card, then you're going to do something for somebody else and you're going to pass that card on and they'll get the idea. That's a way, okay? Not necessarily, there's no the way, but it's a way. And money's still involved, you know, yeah. I have faith that by preaching this idea, okay, teaching, preaching, sharing, however you want to say it, introducing people to this idea that there's another way to live and keep on pushing this. And particularly if we act for more than just ourselves, if we act for the betterment of many people or the protection, security of more people, that will be successful. Much more successful than if we act simply to take care of ourselves. Because, you know, it will touch people's heart. You try to do something for others and people want to help. So there's a lot of money in this world. There's many wealthy people. They have no idea what to do with their money, particularly for baby boomers or people that inherit huge sums of money. For them, it's a burden. It's a, you know, they have a lot of guilt. What am I going to do with all this? You know, and so, okay, well, here we got a great idea. You know, we want to establish a different way of living based on love rather than, you know, based on giving rather than taking. People will become inspired by that. But we have to speak, we have to act, we have to teach, get on radio shows, get on television shows, try to do something, put a name on it, give it a name of some kind if you can, if you need to, and, you know, share it. People are looking for inspiration. There's so many people, they can't understand what's going on in the world. They're insecure. They're, you know, here in the States, you know, everybody's hoping for the red wave to come, that the Republicans will get back in office and undo the terrible things that the so-called Democrats are doing. I don't hold out any hope for that myself. I don't think there's a political solution, because I think all the politicians are bought and paid for. I'd love to be wrong on that, but that's my worldview. Anyway, we make it our purpose, our endeavor to look out for the greater good. For example, Bhakti, she's teaching the children. Okay, not asking for anything, 12 children, wonderful. People see that, they get inspired. All these people who are hopeless, looking for something, they need something to grab onto. And so I think it's very important that we take this idea and we share it as widely as we can, encourage and inspire others, and individually or collectively, however we can do it. And I have great faith that this is what is needed to change the world. The world's certainly not going to change if we do nothing. So act, not just act, but speak, teach, communicate this idea to others. Okay?
Yeah, can I just share another couple of things
Yeah,
that
go
we're
ahead.
doing as well?
Yeah.
I stopped working. I just kind of stopped working for the last 4 or 5, 6 months. So I've been doing some other stuff in my community, but as well as the food, I've been helping a local lady who again is probably is elderly, and it seems to be the idea that a lot of people in our communities are older and trying to rush around and create goodness for the others. So this lady, she's developed a program where if there's some lemons or some mandarins or some oranges or whatnot, and they're in excess or they're dropping on the ground, we approach the homeowners and basically we go along on a Tuesday, we pick the fruit, and I drop it off on a Wednesday, and it's for a Feed the Kids program at one of the local schools. So we've got fresh fruit going out to the kids. And on the same Wednesday, I'm working with the same lady, and we're dropping off a whole lot of food, lots of food boxes that are donated by one of the local supermarkets to those people that are struggling. One family in particular, which has reciprocated the gift back to me, which I find just really, really heartwarming. She was there baking a cake when I arrived on Wednesday. There was a beautiful fruit cake that was vegan. It had no eggs, no milk, no nothing like that. So she kind of understood what we're trying to do with our community kind being plant-based, and us dropping food off to her, that, like you're saying, it just starts to happen, and people just, that reciprocity just starts to happen. Just very, very heartwarming.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
Thank you.
Haley, talk to us.
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to share this. So in New Zealand, when the Europeans first came here, Māori were a bit like shell-shocked with a whole new culture and dominating culture. So there was a bunch of Māori prophets that popped up that sort of fused Māori beliefs with Christianity, and it's totally amazing. Like they built amazing churches that were inspired by both cultures, and one of them was this guy.
Okay.
So he's looking very dignified there.
What's his name?
And his name is Wiremu Tamihana Tara PPP Te Waharoa. Anyway, so anyway, he was a chief from Waikato. Having embraced the Christian faith, he applied Jesus' teachings on love and generosity in a profound way. His pa was named Peria, and it was known as a place of order, great productivity, and blessings for all, and included streets lined with pumice, lush gardens overflowing with vegetables, large orchards, and a school, a flour mill, I was pretty impressed with that, a post office, a meeting house and large church. This community supplied both local and Auckland markets with food. So I just thought, you know, he did it. It's possible. Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Bhakti,
Inspirational.
Bhakti, you have your hand up again, or is that from before? Okay, go ahead. Talk to us.
Hare Krishna. Good morning. Just
Morning.
wanted to say, good to see you, Jono. Hello, Haribal, and really
Hare Krishna.
inspiring to hear what
Namaste.
you're doing down there. Namaste. And also wanted to echo what you were saying about how heartwarming, like this type of work has a very different feeling to working for money, because I'm also teaching in our homeschool group, and there's a sweetness or something else. I guess it's service, right? And it fills our heart in a way that working for money doesn't. So that's also a blessing. And I hear that you're feeling that too, Jono, which is really nice. And I wanted to appreciate what Shirley was saying about what you're doing with your homeschool group. It sounds really exciting. And based on what you were saying, I wanted to ask you, Daneshwar Prabhu, if you could speak on the logistics, I guess, of either living together on one piece of land or living in a neighborhood or connecting with people in the local area. You're not living on a piece of land together, but you're working together, as Shirley was saying, and doing, setting up markets or helping each other. Obviously, transport is something which will become, it's going to become difficult in the future, seemingly, but maybe there's other things that you could talk to about that.
The glue that's going to hold people together is sharing our interests. Okay, for example, now we may live in a neighborhood. We don't share any interests with any of our neighbors. We just happen to live in the same place. But with our family, the family that we're living with, we share interests. And because we have a shared interest, we also feel a responsibility to them. And we also, not just responsibility, but love develops. We naturally want to care for each other. So this love, as we know that we've learned from Srila Prabhupada, love develops by giving service to others. And so if we can somehow or other, whatever group we're working with, whether it's on the same land or whether it's in, separated by some area, but if we can find some way to connect our interests, then we will find that this will it provides the glue that we need to keep us to give us a bond with each other. So, for example, I was with a community in Lithuania some years ago. And this is a group of devotees. They would come together for a Sunday and have a potluck meal and have a kirtan and read Bhagavatam. But they expressed to me that they said, well, we're doing this, but we don't feel very close. We want to become closer. What do we do? So I thought I'd go for the whole enchilada. Do you know that expression? That's an American expression. Meaning, enchilada, go for the killing the rhino. So I said, okay, do this. Everybody, you take all the money that you're earning and you put it in one account, and you all operate out of that one account. And there you've got your interests are shared, and you have to become involved with each other's lives. That was too big a step for them. They said, nah. we're not ready for that. Not surprising to me, of course. So I said, okay, well, you do this. You do your planting and harvesting together. If you're going to, if every house is going to have a garden, you go from house to house as a group and you prepare the garden, do the planting, and then when it's harvest time, you come together and you do the harvest together, and then you can share in the result of that production. So they liked that idea, and they did that. I didn't continue to return to that community after some time. My travels took me elsewhere, and I heard that later on everybody kept falling out of that. They didn't continue with that. So here's the thing, like today we do things perhaps a lot out of necessity. What do I have to do? Okay, I don't have to go over there and help them plant or participate in that. I'll just do my own garden. Okay, well, you can do that, but you remember from, if you watch the video Learning from Ladakh, how that everybody, they did their work together and, at the same time singing and so on. This is, many traditional cultures function like that they combine their interests in some way, and this provides a common bond among them. So we need this. Okay, it's nice to go out and distribute food, and people will appreciate that, and you get a nice feeling from that. But we're talking about developing a culture of developing a gifting culture, that this becomes a way of life for us. Not just us, but when I say us, I mean the greater us. So again, you need glue for that. You need participation in a common project. And in my experience, and somebody has a service, for example, in our Hare Krishna temples, people would come and give service without being paid, gifting, right? This is where I actually learned about the gift economy from my spiritual master. He started the whole Hare Krishna movement simply by giving, and everybody reciprocated. So service is an important thing, that it gives us a place. Now, I've spoken in a previous session about place. We all, as social beings, we all must have a place in our society. Place means several things. Place means a place for the body, to take care of the body. Place means proper relationships with each other, that I have a place according to my status of life. If I'm older, if I'm younger, we have particular relationships with each other. A place means also work according to my nature. So if I have these things, if I have ability to contribute to work according to my nature, if I have proper relationships, and if I have my physical needs taken care of, then I feel a part of the community. If you remove any one of those items, then your connection is reduced. Like, again, use our church, our temple as an example. As our movement grew, people, they didn't have service anymore. They would just come together for the Sunday feast, or like the example in Lithuania, they come together for a feast, but there's no connection. There's no, no place, because I'm not giving anything. I'm just, we're here for one day, we get together, that's nice, but it's not enough. So we have to understand these principles socially and find ways to establish them so that the culture can develop. If we have those, also, this is a much more attractive culture than modern society, because in modern society, people can hardly find their place. You know, a young man can't find his place in the world. And so we see young couples, they don't get married until 30 years of age, practically, when a woman's childbearing years are almost over. And so life is out of kilter. So, you know, we have to understand these social principles, what's needed to make a community work. And place is a very significant thing. And we need a way to also give so that we feel that we're making a contribution. I'm going to say, I'll say a little bit more about the Hare Krishna movement if any of you don't understand that. I think most of you are devotees here, but if you don't understand, like in the early days of our society, our spiritual master, you know, we were establishing temples all over the world. And what was wonderful and helped it to grow so nicely is that anybody could come and make a contribution. And because everything was new and undeveloped, any contribution was welcome. And so people had the opportunity to give of themselves. And because they were able to do that without being rejected, then they felt very happy. They felt like they were a part of something. Later on, as our society has become very well established, you know, somebody may come with an idea, okay, here I want to give this, and the authorities will say, no, we don't need that. Thank you very much. And so you don't have the opportunity to give. So these things have to be kept in mind. Place. What can I give? I need a place to give. I need my connection, my way of belonging, my relationships with others. So these things must be understood. They're extremely important. Did that answer your question?
Thank you. That was very helpful. I think. Well, I wanted to say some more. It was amazing. It didn't exactly answer what I had been thinking, but Rama obviously asked what she wanted to ask. I guess I was sort of thinking about what Shirley has said about, because where we're living, we're sort of our family, and then we've got families fairly close by. But if we didn't have a car, they wouldn't be very close by. So that whole idea of getting...
You mean blood relatives?
No, I mean other people, close friends.
Other people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Close friends who are sort of like-minded. So we're all living a little bit separate. So I'm just wondering how important it is, because like when you were talking, Shirley, I was sort of thinking, oh, well, maybe we could just do that instead of getting land. You know, maybe we could come together regularly to trade, gift, barter, and like that. Do we need to actually live together on a piece of land? But then I'm thinking, well, in the future, how easy will it be to live in these sort of houses? You know, electricity, water. How easy will it be for us to get together in terms of, you know, just to get to the nearest people who are sort of we're close to? It would probably take us on a horse, maybe. It would probably take us about an hour. And those are the people who are closest to us. And then for our children, you know, children need a village to be raised, right? They need to have their aunts and uncles and people around and other children to play with. So it just seems like in the long term, it's going to be very difficult if we're not living together. And then I think about people getting older, you know, like, I don't know who it was was it Barbara, I think we were talking about.
I think it's like most of us.
Yeah, most of us, yeah. Like my sister-in-law, she's getting really nervous now because she doesn't have kids. And she's getting nervous about living on her own into her old age.
Yes, and I'm aware that a lot of the parents of the children that we teach, you know, they're having a hard time just paying their rent or paying their mortgage. It's really stressful, everyone living on their own. It's super stressful. And they don't really have time to give and feel like they want to gift. So it seems that ultimately we are going to have to live together if we want to do this, you know, to the degree that we're going to need to in the future.
Yeah.
So that was what I was wanting to say. Yeah.
There's a design principle, form follows function. And so if we think about what is the function of a culture, of a community, then the form comes automatically, develops automatically from that. Now, if we apply that to modern civilization, what is the function of modern civilization? It's pretty hard to draw another conclusion other than for everybody to make money. So there, you know, what's the form for that? Well, you know, you have corporations, you have institutions, you have things like that concentrate everybody's energies for the benefit of a few. But if we take that the function of a culture is for the spiritual upliftment and physical protection and nurturing of the members of the community, then the form is very different. The form will, because we're persons, we want relationships, we need and want to be with people. And so we make it easy to do that. Plus, the other thing, society is developed, if you look historically at the development of cities, they generally spring up within one day's travel from whatever mode of transportation that they have at the time. So if we go back 100 years or more, generally the cities or the towns would be one day's horseback ride apart. If you go back further than that, they may only be one day's ox cart ride. Okay, the oxen go a lot slower than horses, and so they're closer together. Now we have automobiles and trucks, and so everything is all splayed out. Now, that's going to change, either by design or by circumstance. If you were on the our gift economy Telegram page, I posted a link to the Ice Age farmer. If you don't know him, I suggest you get to know him. He did a video recently about the zero carbon agenda. That means that the powers that be, the demonic powers that be, they want to eliminate all carbon emissions, bring it to zero by 2050. And they've laid out a plan to do that, and you can see how governments are moving in that direction now. For example, in Europe, they're not buying any gas from Russia, and they're telling the Poles, you know, that they have to go collect their wood from the forest. The Polish government told the people that. And in Bodhi was saying that this morning in Germany, it was snowing in the northern part. And what's the government saying? Well, you just, you know, put on an extra sweater or something like that, because they're not buying gas. So it's coming apart. They have an agenda. The whole global warming thing and you know, carbon problem is ridiculous. There's only, get this, how much carbon is in the atmosphere, all this dangerous carbon dioxide rather, that's destroying the planet. How much carbon dioxide? 0.05%. That's all. And in the 100 years that we've been burning fossil fuels, it's not even gone up 1/100th of 1%. So the whole idea is a joke. And besides, plants need carbon dioxide. That's what they grow. That's what they grow from. So it's just a myth. And in any case, the point is that that's what they want to do. And so that means no airplanes, no cars, no automobiles, no trucks, none of that stuff. No oil by 2050. In any case, we have to design a different way to live because modern society is designed to use oil. And unfortunately, they're doing this crazy thing of saying, okay, we're going to stop using oil, but they don't have any other resource. What are we going to do to replace it? But they're lying, okay? The United States Navy, I read 5 years ago or more, the United States Navy found a way to develop fuel for their ocean-going ships from seawater. And they said, well, it costs a little more than what oil does now, fuel oil, to run these ships. Well, okay, that's probably on par with what the gas prices are at this time, right? And then I don't know if you heard, we had this shooting up in Buffalo, New York. Some guy went into a supermarket and killed a bunch of people there. And one of the people that was killed, ironically and mysteriously, was a former police officer who had invented a car that ran on water. This is not a scientist, a former policeman. And he figured out how to do it. So do you think maybe that some of these really smart scientists might be able to do the same thing? I think so. But they're not doing it. So the whole thing's a scam. We have to understand they're demons. They're demonic, and they have a demonic agenda that they're not sharing. They're just trying to lull us into a future, telling us how nice it's going to be, but they're basically putting a noose around everybody's neck. Okay, back to the point. The point, form follows function. How do we want to live? What's the function of our community? And that function is easily served if you have people living in close proximity, 100 yards away from each other, maximum. You don't need so much space. And everybody has their land for their garden, and then you have a common area for your animals. So, simple. Anyway, Ian, something to say?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, Shirley, you got your hand up again? Something more?
Yes, I wanted to say that everybody within our group probably lives a bike ride from each other, probably about 10 kilometres.
Okay.
We can easily, the ones who come to us for homeschooling would be quite capable of biking to us. Yes, it takes a little more time, but it's quite easily set up. We could do that.
And you get exercise.
Yeah. And David we've had other things that have taken priority, like we're putting in extra water tanks and getting ready for those. But David's going to make a trailer to go behind our bicycles. We realise that we're in our 70s and we don't know how long we're going to be able to bike for. We don't know how long we're going to be able to stay on our land and live like this and producing for other people. But when the time comes, we will live on our daughter's land. There's a couple of them are quite happy for us to be there in a small house. And one of the other children or grandchildren will probably take over our property and our land, and the cycle just goes round and round. But it isn't possible for us to move into a community, even though I think we've left it far too late. The community basically is us. We do have room for one more place on our land. We've got one spare section. But yeah, we're just going to bite between people.
Yeah. In any case, there's got to be an evolution from where we are to where we want to go. And, what I'm trying to do with this seminar is to give you a common vision, some idea of possibility of doing things in a very different way, a way that will serve others and serve ourselves at the same time. And particularly, one aspect of this, if we bring God into the equation, that everything that we do as an offering to the Lord. In our faith, we offer the food that we eat, we offer it to the Lord before we take it. It becomes transformed into what's called prasadam. And but it doesn't have to be just food. If you're sewing clothes, if you're making furniture, whatever you're making, you can offer it to the Lord. The Lord will receive it and return it back spiritualized, and it becomes Krishna prasadam. So God is an important part of successful human experience. Without God, we see what we're getting without God right now, right? We're getting an atheistic, demonic civilization in which this Harara guy, he thinks that, we've learned how to manipulate the human gene code, and so we can now program humans, and they want to turn people into machines. This is a characteristic of what's called a necrophiliac. They don't like life. They want everything to be dead. That's what you get without God. So we need God. And we have to make sure that there's a place for that to bring God to the picture. Okay, I'm at the library.
David wants to say something.
Okay, real quick. I came to the library to make sure that I had a good connection because I'm out of town. My connection's sometimes sketchy. They want me to leave before 5 o'clock, which is in 15 minutes. So we got to keep it short. So Shirley, just go ahead briefly.
With regards to the carbon thing, I think it's control and to eliminate money out of the people that are in authority. So it's to make money. They want money to keep circulating so that we pay tax to keep the authorities in power and to manage and manipulate society. They've been able to run engines on other materials than carbon in the past, but the petrol companies and the government in the past haven't wanted that. In New Zealand, they're talking about phasing out all animal farming for human consumption. And so there's going to be a fart and belch tax on the animals, I understand. With regards to transport, I see that as a bit of a problem for the future in getting between. Better is a near friend than a distant relative, I think it says in the Bible. So I think we need to get a sort of a community around us. With regards to donations in situations, if people have just said a donation, you end up with more money in the end going to the Money Society than if you actually put a price on it. People don't like to be in debt to somebody else, so they give beyond what they would expect to pay for it. I am concerned about the fear, paranoia, all-consuming of the present things that are coming on society. And I am very appreciative of the words of Scripture where Jesus said, I give you peace, not the peace that the world gives, which is basically corrupt. The peace that I give passes all understanding. So the Lord wants his people to have peace through these circumstances that the turmoil of the world is going to have to go through. And the Lord will provide, guide, bless, and overall. And naturally, the Lord gives us strength to do what we need to provide for ourselves and for others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, we'll finish with Ian.
For your sessions, and I think it's a real shame you didn't look at the Solaris principle, which is a gift economy and has been running very successfully since last September. Now covers 15 different countries, and starting in France, it covers 70% of France, and it's based on small groups of people, small communities, living in their own houses close to each other. And what they do is they share what they have food-wise and whatever skills they have. This is something that in Voices for Freedom we're starting to build up. And for me, it's been a shame in one way that we all have our different spiritual beliefs. And I think that it's important to recognize everyone's spiritual belief rather than pushing one boat. So
did I give you that impression? I
No.
hope I didn't give you that impression. Okay. I'm sorry. Continue.
Did he give you that impression?
Well, it was quite, for me, it's quite obvious that it was very much a Krishna-based group, whereas what I was hoping was that it would be more broad-based without so much mention of the particular group's approach, which is what they do in Solaris. There's no mention of a spiritual approach, so everyone is free to have their own approach. So I was trying to see if we could bring your care economy into the Voices for Freedom model, into the Voices for Freedom, but it would be difficult because a lot of people are quite Christian in there. So
They are in this group.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that I did look up that group, but it was all in French. And I never got around to getting the translation part. And I really appreciate your sharing that. And I will, based on, again, your encouragement today, I will have another look at that. And if you're part of the group that wants to stay connected, or maybe all of you, share that. Maybe you can put it in the chat box before we're gone. And everybody, based on what you said, I think we all should have a look at it. And there's certainly something that we can borrow from, if not, embrace.
And thank you very much. There is a video which has got English subtitles, and we have translated parts of the French. And we have got the rudiments of those principles being started out in forms from group to group.
It's on their website.
Yeah, okay, thank you. That's all I want to say.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So we're out of time. I'm going to have to go. I am deeply appreciative of your participation. This is what I love to talk about, and a lot nicer when I have an audience. So I really appreciate you coming, participating. I hope you've been inspired and you'll carry this forward and stay in touch with me. I'm going to put my email address in the chat box because you've been replying to that service that we use for registration. So it's integrated@gmail.com. So yeah, I'd love to hear any stories that you have going forward. And also I encourage you to come on to Telegram. join the Telegram channel there, No Money Gift Economy. And, let's continue the chat there. So thank you all.
Thank you.
My deep appreciation. God bless you in all your efforts, and let's make this world the place that we want it to be.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Oh, Jesus.
Thank you so much, Dan. Loved it.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. See you again, hopefully.